So today we're going to talk about how to make a living day trading. And this is what we'll be talking about this and working with this all throughout next year. And I kind of wanted to give a setup class so that you know what to start thinking about now. You know, what's important. What should you think about and kind of have in place right now. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the big question is day trading for a living possible? The short answer is yes. And I'm going to be honest with you. After about 3 months, 4 months, I thought this was a scam. I didn't think you could make money day trading because, number one, I wasn't successful at it. And number two, I never saw anybody actually trade successfully day in and day out. I could not find any community where, you know, the moderator or whoever was running it was actually doing it. All I was seeing was, yeah, this is what I made. Here's my P&L at the end of the day. But I got to the point where I'm like, I just don't see it. But eventually I got with somebody and, kind of got it figured out. But the short answer is yes. The long answer is yes, but at a cost. In most cases, it is not easier than the job you're at right now to learn how to day trade and all the stuff that you have to go through. But it will definitely be more rewarding. All that's advertised and shown to you, the wins, the glitz and the glamour. That's what everybody sees. But in any case, anytime you start your own business, you guys that have your own businesses, you know what it took for you to start it. You know how hard you had to work. You know the hours you needed to put in to make it successful. And this is no different. It's no different, but it's definitely more rewarding because you can be your own boss. You can do this job. You could do anywhere you have an internet connection. This past year, I really got to understand, how easy it is to do this wherever you are in the world. And, you can build personal wealth. You're not having to depend on anybody else. This is something that you're doing for yourself. You're managing it. You're in charge. You're in control. But, like I said, there are too many people out there who claim to make a fortune day trading. And oftentimes, these are the guys that are trying to sell you stuff. Not all of them are bad. Okay? A lot of them are good. I've shared the ones that I think that I have followed, who I feel that are on the money. I've shared that with you guys before. So not everybody is bad. You just need to do your due diligence. I have people that, email me and grill me all the time, which is fine. Everything is out there for you to see. But just don't believe the hype or believe that there's this easy money thing out there, because it's not. Don't believe that, hey, I can teach you and in 3 months you'll be a successful, consistent trader. Those type things are just hype, and they're people trying to take your money. Somebody's telling you what I'm telling you about how much time it's going to take and how much work you're going to have to put in. Those are probably going to be the ones that are going to be legit because they're telling you what it's all about. But still, do your due diligence, when you're getting into day trading. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the foundation part. But, the benefits to this, you're your own boss. You set your schedule. And hey, you you don't have to trade the market from 9 to 4. I can make a living trading pre-market and trading aftermarket. Or you can trade futures or what's that, Forex or whatever that goes all year round. I mean, not all year round, goes 24/7. TD Ameritrade now allows you to trade 24/5. So you could be trading at Eastern time, midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I'm starting to see that there's more volume coming in overnight throughout pre-market, after the close. I'm seeing more people starting to trade those hours, and it's really interesting. But you've got a comfortable work environment, and you've got this incredible sense of freedom. When things aren't going right here for me, if I have to take a walk or do something, I can go right outside and do some work in my yard. There's always something I can do in my yard. And, if I was at work, I couldn't do that. If I was on somebody else's clock, it'd be very hard for me to do. It's just an incredible sense of freedom. And now, if my son and my daughter weren't in school, I could be traveling. And I could pack up and take off for 2 weeks and work and make money to pay for my trip right then and there. So I can't wait till my kids get out of school and I can hit the road. But as with anything else, you got challenges. Your salary is going to be inconsistent. I know we sit here and we set goals. It's like we want to make $250 a day or whatever. You may average that over a year's time, but you may have 1 or 2 months where you're red. You didn't make any money for 1 or 2 months. You actually lost money. So, but over a period of time, you may average what you want to. But your salary is going to be inconsistent because the market is inconsistent. We've been dealing with that for the last couple of weeks. It's like the market doesn't know what it wants to do. Yeah, it's trending down. No doubt about it. It is trending down. But everybody's on edge about, when is it going to bounce? A lot of people thought, after the Fed news today, it was going to bounce. My contention was it was going to sell off and test 52-week low. It tried to fool us. And that's what market makers do. They try to suck in the weak. And, that's why we have to make sure that we understand what we're getting into and that we know how to put ourselves in the right position. We're a small fish in this huge ocean. We're Nemo in the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean or the, whatever. That's what we are. And that is a challenge because we don't have a whole lot of support as compared to the investment banks, the hedge funds. We don't have that. And then there's isolation. If you're not part of a community, it's a very lonely thing. A very lonely thing. I mean, the days when I wasn't in a chat room and I was here, I found myself talking to myself. It was crazy. But, it's totally different than being outside and in an environment around other people. It's a big change. But these are some of the challenges that you're going to have to work through. I didn't have capital because capital is another challenge that we may, be running into. So, these are things that you want to think about. Because obviously, you have made a choice. You're in this community. You're here today because you want to learn how to make a living day trading, whether it's a part-time living or full-time where it takes the place of your job. You just want to supplement your income. You made that choice. And now you really need to know what it's going to take to be successful. All right, so the $1 million question I get is, how do you make a living day trading? Now, how do you do it? A lot of times you can't visualize it. That's why I was having trouble all along, because I couldn't visualize, making a living. I couldn't see. I'm used to having a consistent paycheck. Knowing that no matter how bad the week was, I'm going to get my check. And you can do this in trading too once you make so much money. We'll talk about that. But, in the beginning, it's going to be really inconsistent. So there's some things that you have to accept before we go forward. If you don't accept it, then log out, sign off, and good luck. But you got to accept this. Your trading success is not going to happen when you want it to. And you got to understand that this is a process. It's going to take time. It's not going to take 3 months. It's not going to take 6 months. It's going to take you a year to 2 years to establish yourself as a consistent and profitable trader. You've got to go through some ups and downs. You've got to go through market cycles. You've got to go through all of that. There are people now that have never traded in a pullback. The last pullback we had like this was in February. So if people started in June, they've never traded through this. So somebody told them they could be done in 6 months. They're probably losing money right now because they haven't been through that. So just know, trying to find a shortcut or the holy grail will lead you to being broke. You will lose your account. You will probably lose your confidence. You may lose your significant other. You may lose your underwear. Who knows? But you've got to make sure you have to accept the fact that your success is not going to happen when you want it. It's going to happen when the time is right, and that this is a process. Now, 80% of trading success is psychological. It's between your ears. Okay, only 20% of it is strategic. How easy is it for you guys to learn a strategy? Let's just look at the opening range breakout or breakdown. How easy is that strategy to trade? Let the first 5-minute candle print. If it goes above it, buy it. If it goes below it, sell it. Now, yeah, we're going to add little things into it. Like you may want to, after the first 5-minute candle prints, maybe we want to wait 2 minutes before we enter. If we had done that, I wouldn't have got stopped out on MU today. But that's just some of the things that you can do with that one simple strategy. It's real simple. The hard part is executing it. Getting entry, managing the trade while you're in it, then you exit. All of that psychological. 80% of it is psychological. The strategy is 20%. That's why you cannot rely on a alert service or something like that. And I've admitted this in the past. You know, I used to pay $100 a month to this stock horizon thing that was designed to give you trade alerts, to give you stocks to trade, tell you the entry level and the exit, the target. It didn't do me a damn bit of good because I didn't know what I was doing. Had no clue. But I could see it when the market wasn't moving. But when the bell rang and everything, the candlestick started flashing, it's like, what the hell am I supposed to be doing? I didn't have a strategy. You know, I was just trying to follow something, and you can't do that. Now, you have to learn the strategy, but plus, you've got to get your head right. No way around that. Also, this will take above average effort on your part. You're going to need to put in 120%. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it every minute of every hour of every day. I know a lot of you have jobs. When I started, I had a job. But when I set a schedule and said, these are the 3 hours that I'm going to work on my trading every day, those 3 hours, I had to put in 120%. I couldn't slack off. No, you can't have $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic. No, that's something that you just got to stick. You can't have $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic. Got to have $1 million work ethic. Now, you have to take full responsibility for whatever happens with your trading. And this is a big one, guys. This is it. This is the big one. Taking full responsibility means if your broker screws you, it's your fault. Okay, ultimately, who's going to pay the price? It's going to be you. It's your fault. You got to pay the price. It could be, your broker could have completely screwed you out of a trade, but guess what? You chose that broker. Nobody twisted your arm and told you you had to do it. So we have to accept responsibility. If I get screwed over messing with AverageJoeTrader, hey, I made the decision to still trade with them to show you guys step by step how you have to use a broker like that. Because most of you are not going to have $30,000, $40,000 to start out with. Not everybody is fortunate. I didn't have that when I started. I had a $1,500 bonus check and a pot to piss in. That was it. And I had to make that work. So I had to take chances. I had to deal with these brokers who may charge a little bit more, because let's face it, we're a larger risk than somebody that has money. We may not think it's fair, but that's the way the world works. And so whatever happens to our trading, if the internet crashes, if our computer crashes, we have to accept responsibility for it. We have to accept the fact that, hey, this is the risk I took going in, and I got to deal with it. Because if you don't, and you start blaming everybody and everything for why you aren't making money or why you're not consistent, you will never, ever get out of your own way. So just keep that in mind. When we're talking about making a living day trading, these are the things you have to accept going forward. And the big thing is, make sure you take full responsibility for whatever happens to you. All right, so let's talk about the foundation, the things that you need to have that's building your trading foundation. The hardware. You don't need this expensive computer. When I started trading, I had a $300 laptop from Best Buy. I wasn't running anything. I bought two $25 monitors from the state surplus, and I just got some USB to RCA. I can't remember what you call them. So I could hook the monitors to it, RGA or something, and that was it. You know, that computer did not have a whole lot of RAM. It didn't have a whole lot of anything, but it could run. Yeah, VGA. Like, yeah, but I could run those two monitors. I could run my charting platform. I could watch videos, you know, the class videos. I could do everything I needed to do with that cheap computer. As a matter of fact, when I started this community a couple years ago, I was still using that $300 computer. I was only using it to power, you know, my two separate monitors, but I was still using it. It was still clicking. And I had to plug it in and use it as a backup for a couple of times. So that mid-grade computer, you know, is even more than what you really need, to be honest with you. But I'd rather get more than have just enough. You want to have a reliable internet source. You know, I fight with my internet all the time, but it's because, you know, I've got an office park a block away, and they tried to, you know, hook me up on that so I can get faster internet. But the infrastructure is old. I'm in an older neighborhood. You know, I'm not living in a $500,000 house in a brand new subdivision. You know, I'm living in an older neighborhood, and the infrastructure is not there. So I have internet issues sometimes. But I've got other sources. The internet in my car works great. It might have been a bad idea, and it may come back to haunt me at some point, but right now it's an excellent idea. It's the best thing. So if it goes out here, I can go out in my car, fire it up, and I'm good to go. But you want to have at least two monitors, because when you're taking classes, you want to have the ability to have the class up on one monitor and maybe your charting platform up on another, so you could practice. If we're talking about drawing the pivots, or if we're marking charts, it's easy for you to have your charting software up on one computer, on one screen, the class on the other, you know, while you could practice. That's why I say you want to have at least two monitors. Find something cheap. It doesn't have to be a real expensive monitor. I didn't have HD monitors at first, and it still looked good. I could still see. And, you know, these platforms don't really draw, you know, that much. You don't really need that much to run them. Yeah, Newegg. I'm glad you mentioned that. Newegg is a great place. I buy all my stuff from Newegg. Unless, you know, Best Buy has something that I need in stock. But they've turned into not having anything I need in stock. So Newegg, I don't have to leave my house. I can order it and it's here the next day. And I say a comfortable desk and chair, because you're going to be at that desk and at that chair, you know, quite often. At night, when I was studying at night, you know, I didn't have a desk at first. I was on a dining room table. I was sitting in the dining room chair. No, that was not very comfortable. And some of the ways I fell asleep, I tell you, I paid for it that next day. It was hurting. But once you get into this, you want to be comfortable so that you can focus on what you're doing. If you're not comfortable and you can't focus on it, it's not going to work. You're going to have trouble, and you're not going to get, everything that you need. So this is the basics. Now, of course, you're going to need the stuff, the cables and all that to hook your computer up, and your monitors up and all that stuff. That's a no-brainer. You got to have all that. But these are some key things that you need as far as hardware to make sure you can start and you won't have any problems or any lapses or anything in your learning process. All right, so education. If you want the best chances of succeeding at day trading for a living, you've got to use a wide range of resources. Okay, now books. I don't like books. The only book I've read was a trading psychology book. Books on trading just doesn't do it. Blogs are good. That's how I started. I started blogging about my journey. And that helped a lot of people. It helped me by writing it. And eventually I started doing videos, but in the beginning the blogs were it. So it could be, written blogs or the vlogs, the video blogs of somebody that's actually going through this process. Again, you got to make sure that they are legit and they're telling you what's going on. One of the things I did was I did my blog, but I downloaded all of my trades. So everything just kind of was able to get matched up. You got free video lessons out there. I've shared with you a couple of people who have great free video lessons on YouTube. They're not all over the place. These are guys that have put a good quality product together, and it's out there free, and it can give you some good basic fundamental information. Everybody's doing free webinars. Unfortunately, a lot turns into, most of them turn into a sales pitch, but some do give you pretty good information, like Kanal from Bulls on Wall Street. Of course, at the end, he's going to try to sell you on his service, but he makes sure that he has good content in his webinars. So, know that these free webinars, at the end, you're going to try to get sold something, but, just make sure that you're listening to people that have good content. I saw one the other week. Well, I'm not going to go there. DVDs, you don't see that much anymore. Most of these are just you download, you buy it, and you get a link to download the video or that you can watch the video. So DVDs aren't there a whole lot. You've got formal courses, courses that are put together in chronological order to help you. That's kind of what we have here. All of that, as members, you get that free. All of the courses, and they will be changing. They're going to be updated. I'm going to do all of these classes over, using our new setup. And it's going to be interactive, so, it should be real good. But we had, formal courses is a way. Education communities like this one. Remember I told you how boring it can be. I'm sure if you guys have not been a part of a community, and there are chat rooms you can join or get into that you don't have to pay anything for, but unfortunately you get what you pay for. People that haven't invested in themselves, you know, they don't care. So they don't take, you know, being in this community and everything, they take it for granted because they just don't care. And then formal mentoring. That's when you have somebody, you know, some people learn better working with somebody one-on-one. And so that's another way you can educate yourself. Now, I have taught traders how to trade one-on-one. You know, they didn't want to watch class videos. They didn't want to do anything. They wanted me to teach them one-on-one. And, you know, and that's what worked for them. Here's a good one. Capital. This is one of the most popular questions I get from aspiring traders. How much capital do I need to start trading? You know, and that's the one requirement, one major requirement. You've got to have capital. I mean, you don't even have to own a computer. You could use, if you work with computers all day, you could use the ones at school. That's what I did. You know, when I was at work, I used my work computers. You know, but I couldn't trade if I didn't have capital. So you got to have that capital. You know, a couple years ago, you needed, I forgot to go. It should be a few years ago. You needed a minimum of $25K to start day trading in the U.S. Not only that, you had to maintain $25K. You know, that was the key. That was the trick. And that was the pattern day trader rule, or what we call PDT. So PDT meant for the majority of people, day trading for a living was simply not feasible for us. I could tell you right now, in all honesty, if I had to get 25 grand, I would probably still be trying to raise that 25 grand to trade. If I wasn't able to start where I started, I would still be trying to save it because I was living behind a paycheck. It wasn't paycheck to paycheck. We were living behind a paycheck. We were robbing Peter to pay Paul to stay afloat. So I know there's no way I could have saved 25 grand. But, you know, now we've got several. When I started, there was only one. Now we've got several brokers that are offshore that allow you to trade the U.S. markets with as little as $500. Do I recommend starting with $500? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, but there are several out there. They all have their little quirks, their negatives about them, and they all have their positives. So it just depends on what you feel comfortable with, who you feel comfortable trading with. You know, what makes more sense to you. You know, all of them are going to, like I said, just learn how they work. And once you learn how they work and how to use them to your advantage, you know, it's going to be fine. So I don't recommend that you start trading with less than $2,500. You can start with $1,500. That just doesn't give you a whole lot of room for error. And one of the things that I've realized with guys that are starting out with smaller size or smaller accounts, they worry too much about the money in their account. And that prevents you from trading the way you need to trade. So if you have 2,500, you're going to feel a little bit looser, and you know, things should work a little bit better for you. All right, so one of the other things that you need to do is find a local tax professional, preferably a tax attorney. And let them tell you, and you may get them to do a free consultation or whatever, but let them tell you how you need to keep your records, what legal requirements you have to adhere to in your particular state, and advise you on what the best tax strategies are for your situation. I know there are books and videos out there of people telling you about how to do your taxes as a trader. I would not suggest that. I'm not a tax professional, and I'm not going to, try to pretend to be. But I can tell you this. You don't want to read a generic book or whatever. The tax laws are continuously changing. Those books don't update. So having a professional will save you money. My first year in trading, I learned it the hard way. So make sure, my recommendation is to find a local tax professional. Doesn't have to be an attorney, but preferably a tax attorney, and let them tell you everything you need to do. You want to get help in developing your business plan. Trading is a business. Whether it's going to be part-time or full-time, you need to develop a business plan to help you manage your money. You want to have a trading bank account. You want to have a separate bank account that allows you to fund your trading account or to receive the dividends from that trading account. Now, I did that because I was dealing with a bank, a broker overseas. I wanted to have a separate standalone account that wasn't connected to anything else. So in case something happened, I wouldn't be stuck. So I opened a separate bank account. I've got, a Visa debit card with it. And that's all I needed. So if I need to deposit money or refund my account, I would deposit money in there and then, refund my account. When I would wire out, I would wire it out into that account, and then I pay myself. So you want to get help on how you're going to pay yourself. Again, with taxes. All of that, your tax attorney or a tax professional will tell you what's the best way to do it. So real quick, I'm just going to share with you how I did it. Okay, I came up with a monthly budget. Here's my monthly budget. Actually, it's more now. I did this a while back. But the platform fee, $124. The scanner, I pay $85 for Trade Ideas, $39.50 for FinViz. You don't have to have FinViz Elite. You can just use the free. But I got Elite because it helps me in my teaching and all of that stuff. My internet's $80 a month. And I charge myself chat room fees. Because this is a business. I'm charging myself. So, and that comes out to be $33.25 a month. I'm not even giving myself the best deal at that. So, this is a monthly budget. The only other one that I have on there now is TraderView. I do pay, I forgot how much I pay now for TraderView, but I will have this updated when we really get into this next year, at the beginning of next year. And this is how I distribute my profits. 30% goes to my tax account. The reason why I do 30%, I'm not taxed at that rate. My taxes will probably be around 20, 21%. But what happens is, at the end of the year, whatever money I have in there that I don't have to pay taxes with, guess what? That is a tax-free refund. That is a tax refund. That is my refund. I'm not relying on the government to give me anything. I give my own self a tax refund. But that was something unique that, my guy told me. Hey, let's do this. The college accounts, the 529, here they're tax exempt. So that's 20% right there. I don't have to pay taxes on because it's going into that account. My 10% personal savings, that can go, once I got a certain amount in my savings account, the rest of it just goes to IRA. That's tax exempt, tax deferred. So there's 30% of my money the taxes are being deferred on. And then 40% goes back into trading. And what that 40% does, no, you don't put it back into your account. I'm putting it in my bank account. Or once I open Speed Trader, back then I could do it with 10 grand. Once I open Speed Trader, I just would deposit the money in there until it got to 25 grand and I could trade freely out of it. I did do some swing trading, but that's what I meant by back into trading. That 40% that I would pull out every month went right back into my main trading account. So I just saved it in my bank until I got enough to open up Speed Trader, and then we just moved on from there. All right, so the last thing, this is kind of how it works. And this is how it's going to work next month. I start with 5 grand. Okay? You want to establish a threshold. If you're dealing with an offshore broker, you better establish a threshold. There's nowhere in the world I'm going to keep a ton of money overseas. This is not going to happen. So for me, it was 5 grand. At the end of 2014, I wired out right before Christmas exactly what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. I'm going to be wiring out. And that was my Christmas money that year. Best Christmas I ever had. Starting with 5 grand in January. And it's just going to roll over. Now, if I lose 1,000, I'm not adding it back. I'll just have to trade with what I got. So, but, the idea is to grow it from 5 grand so that I could wire out. So here was last March. This was my ending account balance, 7268.15. So I wired out 2268.15. That's my gross profit. After expenses, I had 1907.40. That was my net. So the expenses were what I showed you earlier for my platform fees and all that stuff. So my tax account, 572.22. Then my kids' college, 1970. Personal savings, 190.74. My personal savings, 190.74, and then 762.96 back into my trading account. That's the way I got it set up. So you guys have whatever you want to set for your threshold. If you're just learning, there's nothing wrong with starting with 2 grand every month, or 2,500 every month, and trading from that. And if you only made $500, pull it out as long as you want to do that. Now, let's say you want to bump it up and you want to start trading with 35. So then you wire out and leave 35 in there. You just keep growing from there. But the key is I wasn't going to leave all my money in overseas. It wasn't going to happen. All right, so hopefully I got you guys thinking about what you're going to need going forward. What you need to start thinking about. Um, your business plan, it's going to be a little bit different, but I do have a template you could use when you start working on your business plan. You know what, it can help you think about some of the elements you need to put in there. But it's all about establishing yourself as a professional. Once you do that, you're going to feel professional. You're going to approach this in a professional way. And you're on the road to being a successful trader. You know, obviously, there's a lot other stuff that goes into it. But if you don't have this stress behind you and bothering you every day, just you're gonna do better. You could email me and I'll email it to you.